Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen nabiyyina Muhammadi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'du, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our fiqh hour. It has been some time, nearly several weeks to be honest, when you realize how time has gone. But we are back, as I've mentioned previously. When we do accumulate a certain amount of questions, then inshallah we will go live with our fiqh hour. So I hope this has gone live, because we do have sometimes problems. Yes, alhamdulillah, we have gone live. So let's pick up the questions that we have on our channels, and I can see that our esteemed colleague is now sharing them across the platforms. Okay, so let me jump on to the questions. Ladies group first, as we say, ladies before gents. The question that we have from the ladies group, I think it is just the one, which was, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. I have a question about wearing imitation jewelry. I found out that it is not permissible to wear rings other than gold and silver. Probably the same is true for necklaces and bracelets. Can you please explain? Yes, we find that there is the general view that for women, obviously, that they should restrict themselves in metals anyway, primarily to gold and silver, and to avoid iron, brass, copper, and even wood to some extent. And there is a reason for this. And the reason for this is that people would consider them to be idols. So people would carry their idols with them. So they would carry iron rings, wear these different type of metal rings and wooden rings, because idols used to be made from stone. So even some people used to wear stone rings. Their idols used to be made from stone. Idols used to be made from iron. Idols used to be made from copper, and also idols used to be made from wood. So people would wear those type of rings as idols. Hence the reason why the Prophet ﷺ did not permit men to wear any form of jewelry. There is obviously an exception made for silver, and that exception that is made for silver is made primarily, I would say anyway, from my understanding, for people in a position of some kind of authority in which they need to stamp documentation, and therefore it was used as a stamp. Other than that, there was no real reason for men to wear silver rings. However, the permissibility exists. Whereas for women, silver and gold was permitted without any doubt. Idols weren't made from silver and gold. And also silver and gold was something which was used as currency and as a valuable gold. So therefore, that's the reason why. Nowadays, obviously, people tend not to wear other types of metals, but they do tend to wear plastic type of rings or jewelry anyway, necklaces and bracelets. And therefore, that's the understanding we have. So if one wants to be absolutely safe, then restrict themselves to gold and silver. But if they're wearing jewelry which has no connotation towards some kind of Gothic or some kind of idolatry, then there is permissibility. And in fact, that is the Shafi position as well. Let's see what else is on the ladies group. So that's the ladies group. Let's check the gents group. Start at the beginning. Scroll. Where are we? Some scrolling to be done, isn't there? There we are. So, forwarded question. If you have paid some money for some work to be completed, and the person due to the work has passed away without doing any of the work, so the person who was due to do the work has passed away without doing any of the work, is that now a debt owed because they didn't complete or even start the work? And we agreed verbally, not written down. They took on the work several months, even a year before they got unwell, and didn't do any of the tasks. So the best way I would say in this particular circumstance is that if somebody has not done the work, but said they were going to do the work, then it would probably be better just to leave it as it is, excuse me, rather than saying that there's a debt on the person, because obviously the person said he was going to do the work, they didn't get a chance to do the work, they didn't start the work, they would have to return the payment that they have taken, give that back to the person, because that is a debt owed. I think that's what it's being making reference to, because the task was not complete, or whoever is now taken over, they complete the task instead. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. What is the ruling of pension annuity? Okay. This is obviously if a person starts to take a pension regularly as a wage. So the hukum of that is based on the type of pension it is. So if the pension is Sharia compliant, then everything is fine. But if the pension itself is not Sharia compliant, then obviously there will be an issue from any withdrawals that are made from that pension. Assalamu alaikum. Now that question's been answered already. Assalamu alaikum. I have a question in regards to nikah. Is it permissible for a wali to delay the process of nikah, with the reasons being the daughter is being too young in the eyes of the family when she is baligh and a student of Islamic knowledge, age 19 and 20, and for the groom to save up enough money for the marriage? By delaying the process, meaning not allowing the bride and groom to meet when they've kept 2 to 3 years halal, or meeting the groom as a family, or allowing the two to get to know one another, even through a three-way group chat or meeting with the wali present. The reasons from the wali are the family is to not move things forward is because a mother isn't ready or happy yet until the family moves homes and settles. I'd like to know what would one do in this situation, and how can the wali be advised? So there is no alaikum salam. There is no way that it says here groom, but obviously at the moment they're not married. So there is no way that they can communicate with each other or meet each other or get to know each other or any of that until the nikah is done, because this is inappropriate. We don't know, even though the chap might think this is the woman I'm going to marry, the lady might think this is the man I'm going to marry. Allahu A'lam, Allah knows best what's going to happen. So therefore, one can't start making that assumption that, oh, we're going to get married anyway, and therefore we can meet. Okay, we just make sure that we have a group chat and put your mother on it or put your father on it so that we can keep our language appropriate. Or we can obviously meet, and again, we will have a wali there present, so or a mahram there present, so we can't have any kind of unnecessary conversation. The point of getting to know each other is not permissible. So for now, one would wait. Now he asks, is it permissible for a wali to delay the process of nikah if he feels his daughter or the family feels the daughter is too young? There is obviously a maturity that one has to have, rushd as it's referred to. This is also mentioned with regards to even taking responsibility of a mature person's wealth, that you only give the wealth to them when you feel that they're going to adequately utilize that wealth. So even somebody might be 18 or 17 or 19 or even 20, and they may have inherited a large amount of money from a family member, but the guardian may decide not to give that money to that person because they feel that this person is not really fully mature enough yet, and they're going to spend this money on silly things, taking their friends out to eat, going to restaurants, buying a silly car or whatever. So they think, look, until I see some kind of level of sensibility from this person, until I can determine some level of maturity from this person, I'm going to keep hold of their money until I see that. So therefore, if one can hold a person's money back, even though that money belongs to that person, then similarly, when it comes to nikah, the mother and father are best placed to say, okay, we want to make sure that our daughter is actually ready for marriage, and she's in a position to obviously marry this person. She has the capacity, the ability. It might be that she can't even do her own room up for now. She can't even clean her own room, never mind be able to look after a house and look after her husband and know her husband's rights and all those things which come associated with it. So there is nothing wrong in delaying, because the wali and the family are best placed to make that kind of decision. So I think that covers that question. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. If parents of a child, a male child, decide against carrying out circumcision on the child without any particular reason, would they be sinful? Yes, because this is something which is not just as we call it, a sunnah, but this is also something which is a symbol, shi'r of Islam. This is something very symbolic, like the adhan is not fard, but it's so symbolic that without adhan, a salah seems empty. So there are certain things which may not carry the weight of the Sharia behind it, but because they are virtually considered as Islamic identity or the symbolisms of Islam, they are therefore given that due respect. So yes, a person would be considered sinful if they do not carry out the circumcision of their child without any particular reason. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi. I hope you are well, inshallah. Barakallahu feek. Alhamdulillah, all is good. Would I be able to do this on behalf of my deceased parents, even though I have debts to pay, or would it not count? So this was one of the posts that I posted on the Markaz al-Ifta wal Qāḍī gents group and also the ladies group, in which we're talking about Waqf in particular, because there's some work I am doing with a few brothers around Waqf, and inshallah, hopefully I will be able to share with you soon. And he asked that, would he be able to establish a permanent charity like this for his parents' name, or should he give his debt? First thing one has to do is clear their debts. Okay, one shouldn't be looking at doing work of khair when they have money owed to somebody. However, if they've come to an agreement with their debtor and they've said to them that, the creditor, and they've come to an agreement to say, look, I'm going to pay you £500 a month. And that brother says, that's fine, you can pay me £500 a month and you'll clear your debt of 5,000 within a year. I'm happy with that. And he has surplus wealth beyond that £500 a month. Yes, he can use that now because he has an accepted payment structure with the person he owes the money to. And the person is not going to ask again ask him for any more, because they've agreed it's going to be £500 a month. It's going to be paid over 10 months, and he's happy with that. So now any surplus can be used for that. This is very similar. I'm just going to sort my hair out because my hair's been obviously growing very long, and it's going dry because I forgot to oil it. So I just need to kind of keep it a little bit under control because it's I can see I need to be better groomed. My apologies for not grooming myself before I came on live. Sorry, what was I saying? Yeah, so once this is the same when a person is saying, can I go for Hajj? I owe money. Can I go for Hajj? So the answer to that is that whoever you owe your money to, if you have an agreed payment structure of paying back your debt, then that's fine. Any surplus money you can use now to go for Hajj. So for example, if you owe, like I gave the example earlier, you owe £5,000 to somebody, and the months of Hajj arrive, and you check your account and you have enough to go for Hajj, but you're thinking, I owe £5,000 to this brother, then you'd have to look as to whether you have an agreed payment structure with this brother. So if you have an agreed payment structure with this brother that you're paying £500 a month and he's happy with that, then absolutely you can go for Hajj because you have plenty there. If on the other hand, this brother has said, pay me everything as soon as possible. Now, what he means by that is the 5,000, I want it paid as soon as possible. Now you can't go for Hajj without paying the 5,000. But you can go up to him and say, look, brother, you said to me that I need to pay this debt as soon as possible. I owe you £5,000. I do have £5,000, but I can also go perform my Fard Hajj. But I need to discuss that with you first. Are you happy with me to do that? And if the brother says, oh, subhanAllah, I don't want to come in your way for you not to go perform Hajj, you go perform your Hajj and you can pay me when you come back and save again, then that's absolutely fine. So we unfortunately use excuses in order not to perform Hajj and other ritual acts. I'll just take this question on here from our esteemed administrator, Iman. Assalamu alaikum, Mohammed. Wa alaikum salam. Looking really well. Alhamdulillah. I've been working very hard, as you can imagine, regularly working out, making sure that I'm drinking plenty of water, and of course, looking after myself. Does this mean individuals ain't allowed to wear clothing or jewelry that is Gothic in nature? I see you mentioned. Yes, because certain you have to look at the kind of root of clothing as to what its source is. What is it, what is it promoting? And anything which is promoting, obviously, Satanism, anything which is promoting idolatry, anything which is promoting alcohol and zina and things of this nature, we can't be associated with. So even though it might look fashionable, sometimes there's this, certain type of jewelry which looks fashionable, which is slightly gothic, satanic in nature, and people think, oh, it just looks cool. But it's not about what looks cool. We have to look at everything and its connection with what's around us. Assalamu alaikum salam. Sheikh, if someone owes me money, he said that he will return after a month. Now it is over a month. Should I ask him to return the money or wait for him to return himself? That would depend, Salman, on your circumstances. If you are okay financially for now, and you know that this brother might be in a bit of financial difficulty, then the last thing you need to do is kind of, breathe down his neck and breathe down, and give him added pressure. If, on the other hand, you're struggling yourself a little bit, then there's no harm in sending a reminder that, brother, we did say a month later, it has been 5 weeks. So if you couldn't mind, even if you can't pay all back, at least give me something back, because at the end of the day, it's your haqq. However, we've been encouraged by the Sharia that where we can, we should be, the fact is that he's borrowed money means he's already in a financial difficulty, that he had to borrow money. If he wasn't in financial difficulty, he wouldn't have borrowed money. So, it's not easy going up to someone and saying, brother, can I borrow some money? It's a difficult thing to do. So therefore, he's in a difficult circumstance in the first place. And this is going to be exacerbated by the fact that when we go and start saying, you owe me this money, we don't know what he's going through. So if we can, of course, we will try to give him some leniency. We will try to give him some respite. We will try to give him opportunity for him to approach us, because we know then he has the money. But likewise, it is our haqq. If we are in difficult, constrained circumstances, then there's no harm in sending a reminder. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. A question from a young child. Is it permissible to offer salah while wearing an EMS kit around the arm and or abdomen? The reasons he's asking is because it was time for salah. He didn't want to remove the device as it has its own timer and salah time was in. The EMS pulses were making his fingers jolt as if he was doing tasbih on his hands at a really fast pace. It also makes the upper arm move, if not tense. The device on the abdomen doesn't make the body move, just makes the stomach twitch non-stop. EMS training, also known as electric muscle stimulation training, utilizes electrical impulses to stimulate muscle contractions. So if this kit can be worn outside of salah times, then that would be the preferred circumstances to wear this. I'm assuming this isn't required 24 hours a day, because a poor chap wouldn't be able to sleep if he had it on during the night. So if obviously this thing can be worn for certain times and not for other times, then it is better that it is removed. And the person, they speak to their medical practitioner and mention to them that, look, I have salah times at this time and this time and this time. So could this be done for me in such a way that I can, and I don't have to wear it at these times? Then that would be the better. If, on the other hand, it's such that it's being worn over such a long duration, which would mean that the salah time would elapse. So, for instance, he puts it on at, say, 4 p.m. and he removes it at 9 p.m. Now, by doing so, he's going to miss Asr, okay? And he may even miss Maghrib if he wasn't to pray it whilst wearing it. In those circumstances, then it's a necessity. And because it's a necessity, then in those circumstances, he may wear it, even though this is making him physically jolt. As you mentioned, his fingers look like he's making tasbih on his hands, even though he's obviously not making tasbih. So I hope that makes sense. Jazakallah khair. So Muhammad Qasim, using that very clever tactic of misspelling khair, meant that he is now our #1 fan. Subhanallah, he is top of the chart. So Iman and Salman, you need to do some catching up on that. Another brother says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm planning to travel for Umrah, inshallah. When applying for a Saudi visa, there are two options. Option number 1 is an electronic visa waiver. I don't know why he's put EVV, electronic visa waiver. So it must be EVW, which is cheaper but does not include travel and medical insurance. Then there is the e-visa, which costs about £120 and includes mandatory travel and medical insurance as part of the visa package. My question is it permissible for me to apply for the e-visa knowing that it contains travel and medical insurance, even though insurance is in general is a point of concern in the Sharia? Or should I avoid it and apply for the EVW option, since that does not include insurance? I want to do what is most correct Islamically. Salman, that was a little bit under the belt, but I guess if Muhammad Qasim's used it, then why can't you? But I still think you're still regarded as number two. I don't know why that is, even though you've equally responded. Khair, there is still time for this league table to sort itself out. The question would come is that what type is this travel and medical insurance based on? Okay. Oh, that's very clever. That's very clever, Muhammad Qasim. So it would depend on how this travel and medical insurance is not per se impermissible, because we can have something called takaful type of insurance. So there are methodologies, there are Sharia valid methodologies, Sharia compliant methodologies, which would allow one to have insurance, if we can use that word. Okay, so you would have to, I don't know who is setting these visas. I'm assuming it's coming from Saudi Arabia. He's milking it now. I'm assuming this is coming from Saudi Arabia. And if it's coming from Saudi Arabia, you would assume, I know it's an assumption, you would assume that they are Sharia compliant. So I would look into that. If they are not Sharia compliant, then yes, you would go for the visa which does not have travel or medical insurance in it. If, on the other hand, you find that these visas are based on such a financial mechanism which is Sharia compliant, then one can have travel and medical insurance. Next question, which I think maybe even the brother that's on here. Assalamu alaikum. A brother asked, they read in Bahar Shariat, I don't know of the book, this does not mean that we should be hesitant about someone who commits absolute kufr. In fact, it is kufr to doubt in the disbelief of someone who is certainly a kafir. So what I question myself now is, that is, and was my faith invalid, since one of my friends is a Quranist, and I always still believed him to be Muslim. Although I told him I don't agree with his approach, and told him he is wrong for what he's doing, I did not see myself in the position as a layman to takfir him as an individual. So you did absolutely correct there, brother. Your job is not to takfir a fellow Muslim. That's not your job. You may warn people according to your understanding, because it would be better to check with a scholar, but you may warn people to say, look, be wary of this brother. His positions are not according to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. He denies hadith. He does not give value to hadith. He may even, by extension, disrespect the Prophet ﷺ. We don't know. So therefore, you may warn others, but you're not here to, make takfir of people. Even the ulama refrain from making takfir of somebody. They will just say, look, that person is a deviant. That person is away from the straight path. That person's statements are statements of kufr, rather than actually coming out and saying that, because it's not, we're not a judge in a Muslim country where we have to, declare apostasy and things of that nature. So therefore, why stick your neck out for unnecessarily? Does that mean that I was a kafir from Allah's perspective this whole time for still having the hopes for him being a Muslim, while most say Quranists are kuffar? No, because I've just answered that. So hopefully that makes things clear to you. Next question, or bunch of questions rather. Assalamu alaikum. I have a few questions. Sorry in advance for how long my post is. Okay, we accept your apology, sir. What is the ruling on an impurity drying on the floor wall of a house and otherwise leaving no trace? I heard this counts as pure since taking the ruling of earth. Does this apply to carpets or tiles as well? It will not apply to carpets or material which is something which can absorb liquids. These are things which don't absorb liquids, and therefore they are removed from the surface. But anything which absorbs a liquid needs to be washed. So the carpet will need to be washed. Even when it comes to ground like mud or whatever, that will also need to be, water needs to be poured on it. If due to splashes or something else, one ends up with impurities on the body, does one assume it's less than a dirham until certain it's more, due to the principle of assumed purity until proven otherwise? This is when one can't really look and estimate the area because it's invisible or difficult to look. I guess if it's not visible or it's difficult to see it, then you would make that assumption that it's less than a dirham, otherwise you would have seen it. What is the ruling on using spray mist like a spray bottle for wudu, since the mist will make the entire limb face wet and presumably drops will fall off from the limb? Does this count or would be difficult to achieve the conditions for wudu? I saw a video of someone spraying their face and limb with mist for wudu, and while it got all wet, I'm not sure if this counts as water flowing. If the water flows, as you describe it, in which you can see droplets by gravity moving down the body, or even water, maybe even one or two droplets falling off the elbow, then that would suffice. I wouldn't use this method all the time. I guess this method is useful. I guess this method is useful when you are in the haram, because it's very difficult to make your way back to places of ablution. For wudu ghusl, if there is a barrier to water, that is excused due to pain or the difficulty of removing it, and the barrier falls off sometime later, does that part need to be rewashed? I've seen contradictory answers on this. This barrier, if it's removed, then yes, you would need to wash that part again because you wiped over that part most likely, and therefore it now needs to be washed. In the Hanafi school, I read that combining prayers whilst traveling is not permitted, but that one can follow another madhab on this. One can only follow another madhab on this if a mufti has given fatwa. One can't just as a layperson decide I'm going to follow another madhab. So I wouldn't say that's appropriate. This is only from a scholarly position that the scholars may decide that, there's an extreme difficulty in adopting the Hanafi position on this particular point. So what we will do is we will now adopt a position from the Maliki school or the Hanbali school or the Shafi school, and we will now adopt that. So it's for the ulama to decide that. It is not for the Joe public to suddenly say, oh, I'm going to adopt Imam Shafi's position, because they don't know Imam Shafi's position. But the one can follow another madhab. If one does so, I assume they have to follow all the rules of wudu and salah of the other madhab for validity if they bring it forward. We wouldn't permit in any circumstances of bringing salah forward at all. Okay, this would go against fundamentally what the Hanafi school is about. So I assume that it is there. But if one delays it, let's say Zuhr into Asr time, would one still need to follow the other school's rulings? No, because it would just be a qada. Okay, which you correctly said. Okay, very straight to the point here. There's very little salam or even as a question. Haram to buy haram meat, or if you were to contribute to buying a present for a colleague and you knew that they might be deciding to buy the gym or something meat-based, and then it stops. Okay, so the brother K, if you can maybe elaborate on that question. I'll give you a few minutes to elaborate whilst I take some questions from here. Under what circumstances can a layman takfir someone? As I understand it, it's still not a valid tool that should be used to disparage obvious dissension. Under no circumstances can a layman takfir anybody. All a layman can do is either consult a scholar. That would be the better thing. Consult a scholar, ask the scholar that say, look, I know this brother, and he says this, he believes this, and he makes these statements. What's his position in Islam? The scholar then may say that if what you said, and if as you see it is correct, because don't forget, this is a person's perspective, this is a person's interpretation of what somebody is saying or believing, then they will add this disclaimer, this caveat, that if as you say is what you say it is, then in those circumstances, avoid that brother. The scholar will not give takfir. So the next, what that brother can do now, if he knows this other brother is actually going around and propagating his position and confusing people, he can tell those people that I spoke to Sheikh Fala or I spoke to Mufti Fala and I explained these characteristics to him, and the Sheikh said this. He said, da, 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 da. So you are now, nothing to do with you. You are now quoting a Sheikh. Therefore, you can propagate that to protect people from being deviated. That's all a layperson can do. For example, someone saying they're a Quranist, can a layman say anything? Well, not necessarily to that person, but they do need to say that, brother, this is not the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is to follow what the Prophet ﷺ did. In fact, a Quranist is not actually a Quranist either, because in the Quran there's numerous places which says Ati'ullah wa Ati'ur Rasul, obey Allah and obey His Messenger. It does not say obey Allah, because whatever the Messenger is saying is irrelevant, na'udhu billah, or whatever the Messenger is saying is exactly what the Allah is saying. If he just said obey Allah, okay, then we would say that's it, we only accept the Quran. But the Quran says, and we can infer from other verses as well, there are direct verses, and we can infer from other verses that we are told that we have to follow the Prophet ﷺ. We are told by the Quran. So therefore, a person is not truly a Quranist if they don't follow the Prophet ﷺ, because the Quran tells them to follow the Prophet ﷺ, and if they don't, then they're going against the Quran, which means they're not a Quranist. So this is just a confusion. Really, unfortunately, this is just a misunderstanding of the Sharia, because people think, the Prophet ﷺ's words haven't been protected as well as the Quran has been protected. Therefore, let's just select the Quran, and maybe the Prophet ﷺ spoke historically in his circumstances, in his surroundings, in his, in his century, in his part of the world, as an Arab. And why are we taking what his words are as revelation, when revelation is something which is not time dependent, not fixed by time, it's divine. It is being shared for all society across the globe, across the time duration, whatever. And that's the rationale, shall we say, for it. But it's misplaced, misplaced protectionism. It's misplaced trying to come and hope that they can, protect the deen. It's completely wrong. So I hope that makes sense. I'm just going to see if Kay has added any more to his message. He hasn't done, but I think the question is potentially saying is that, can a person buy haram meat for someone? No, you cannot buy haram meat for someone. Even if you are not consuming it, you cannot make the purchase of a haram entity, because the sale is invalid. So you cannot buy something which is haram, because that is not made legal for you to make that purchase. Okay, so I think we have come to the end of that. I'm just going to see if we've missed any questions. We've not missed any questions. So don't worry, Iman and Salman and Muhammad Qasim, because you've all got 75 experience points. So mashallah, well done to all of you for whatever it's worth. And we'll give about 30 seconds to see if anybody else has got any questions before we go off air. So just to remind folk that Fiqh Hour is usually run on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. UK time, irrespective whether it's British summer time or the normal GMT time, but only when we accumulate at least 3 questions. And where are these questions being accumulated? They're being accumulated on the Markaz al-Ifta wal Qāḍī gents group and the Markaz al-Ifta wal Qāḍī ladies group. For those of you who are on our WhatsApp channels, there's links to those groups, so you can join those groups. And when you join those groups, you pose your question on those groups, and you wait, inshallah, for when, as I said, 3 questions are gathered. Then the next available Wednesday, we will book a Fiqh Hour at 6 p.m. and answer those questions, but also give you opportunity to be able to pose questions live as well. Okay, just before we go, what a question to finish things off, Rod. I have no answer to that. How do we also grow such luscious, subhanAllah, such luscious locks of hair at your young age, Ustadi? Alhamdulillah. I was saying, I think I know who this is, but what I was saying was that I didn't look in the mirror before I went live, and I showered, but I didn't put my normal oil and gel in my hair, so my hair's a bit dry. I'm having a bad hair day, so it's sticking out a little bit. So maybe I should have tied it in a ponytail before I came on air. But khair, next time. Alhamdulillah. Collagen. Make sure you have some collagen to replace any lost collagen. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair for that. Those regular fiqh hours with themes were great. Absolutely, Iman. I'm more than happy to do that. I'm obviously relying on you folk to come up with the themes. If you come up with the themes, I'm more than happy to make it a regular thing. And then we can have this for at least 30 minutes. Okay, it's technically not fiqh hour, but at least it's not fiqh minutes, as my wife normally pokes fun at me. It's at least fiqh half hour, which we did have during Ramadan, if you remember last year. So I think on that note, we have come to a natural close, inshallah. So again, last 10 seconds before we do chutti, and then inshallah we will be back the next time we have a fiqh hour, inshallah. 55. I don't know. I'm one of those people, when you're putting fuel in, you got to get it on 00. So there we go. 36 minutes. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair to all you all. Please do share the links so that other people can benefit likewise. And obviously ensure that you put some questions on the group in order for us to be able to then host the next fiqh hour. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.